So today our focus is on game-based activities, particularly game-based activities within Lumio to boost learning. We know that students get engaged with games. And so that's going to be where we are focusing today. It is October. It is towards the end of October. And there are going to be some Halloween ones because I love the holiday. So I had to bring it in. All right, to get us started, I'm going to have you join in as a student, okay? There are two ways that you can do this. One, go to hellosmart.com, join in as a guest, and type in that class ID. However, in the chat, I'm posting the quick link. It's much, much easier to just click that and join in as a guest. Kind of bypasses all that typing. So whatever works for you. So really quickly, just to introduce myself, my name is Kat. I am an education solutions consultant with SMART. However, prior to this, I was a high school science teacher. So you will be getting some nerdy science stuff today. I was also an instructional technology coach. I am down in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, so let's talk about our plan for the next 50 minutes or so. First and foremost, you are going to be in as a student. Okay, that is what happened when you did that join code. That brought you into the student perspective. This is why you lock things down right here. Woo. You're going to be in as a student perspective, and you are going to engage in some game-based learning. Okay. After we do that, after you kind of have that chance to see what students would see, how it feels from that side, we're also going to go into the teacher side of things because it's really important to me that you have some chance and time to build. I want you to be able to walk away from here with a game if that is what you're so inclined to build today. And then we will wrap up with a little Q&A. If you have any remaining questions, and if you'd like to share what you've built with anybody, you will have time to do that as well. Okay, so to get us started and to kind of get us focused on game-based learning today, we are going to talk about what are the benefits of game-based learning. So what I'm going to ask of you is that you, on your computer, you get a little text box now that I've started this, that you type in what you feel are the benefits of game-based learning. Why might you use game-based learning in your classroom? So you will type that in, you will hit send response. I believe right now, yep, you have up to 3 responses. So if you want to do more than one response, you're more than welcome to. Lots of great answers coming in. We're going to talk about some of them in just a minute. So this activity is what is called a shout it out. And essentially shout it out is like a digital bulletin board or a digital parking lot where student responses will kind of randomly populate. I customize this background, but just the typical background is a gray background. First and foremost, it is tiny. I know it is tiny. I actually really like that. Like I said, I taught high school. And while I would love to say that my students always put super appropriate things and on topic things, the reality is that that won't always happen. And because if it's a little bit smaller, I can kind of keep an eye on it. And if it's not appropriate, I can just drag it up to the trash can. I don't even have to address it. We can just toss it without losing that class time. Okay. These are movable. Okay. So they're rearrangeable. We could rearrange them into categories, talk about similarities and differences, etc. If we want to dive in deeper to one or more of these answers, okay, I can just click on it. So favorite response from the 3 p.m. session, I had to pull this up. Trick students into learning. Yes, it's a great reason to use game-based learning, right? They don't think about themselves as learning content or reviewing content when they are playing a game. So that's a great one. I see a lot of student engagement, making things fun. Yes. Another one I wanted to point out was low risk. That's a great reason to use game-based learning. It is very low risk. Feel it. This is a great way to engage them and assist them in their learning. Absolutely. Engagement, engagement. We see all of this engagement, engagement, engagement. And what we hopefully see as we increase engagement in our classrooms is that ideally we are also going to see a decrease in some behavioral issues. Okay, so that is another reason to use game-based learning, that engagement, and making things fun for students. So in terms of game-based learning and Lumio, okay, we have 12 different game templates, okay? Today, we are going to be focusing on 3 in particular. We can talk about some other ones, but we're going to focus on Match 'em Up, Super Sort, and Monster Quiz. Okay. These, I'm not very good at drawing with my mouse here, but we're going to do it my best. These three are games that have individual student data. So if you're looking for a formative data piece, these three games are really great for that. If you are looking for a competitive team-based game, this Monster Quiz is fabulous. It is Kahoot-ish, but it will give you holistic class data, and it is competitive, and students get really, really into it. Okay. Across the board with these 12 templates, each one has been aligned with a Bloom's taxonomy. So different games are going to kind of hit different parts of that pyramid. Okay, don't play yet. Don't do it yet. I know everyone starts. So this is what's it's called a match 'em up. Okay, so we're going to be pairing things together. I'm going to model it for you really quickly and just talk about what I want from you when you go to play it. So I'm going to click model activity. Like I said, we're pulling the Halloween theme in today. So when we are matching things together, we have our problem, our numerical expression on the left, okay? These are screenshots. And so you'll notice that with an image or a screenshot, you get this little blue box. And so if I click that blue box, it pops this open much larger, so it's easier to see. So 6 squared divided by 9, I believe it's 4. I think it's 4. So I'm going to pull those together, and it's going to pop up into the top, okay? The other option I have with this is if I pull the cat onto the moon. Okay, so if I pull one part onto the other part, that will also match them for me. Okay, while you guys are playing, I'm going to view your progress. Okay, so this is that student activity dashboard. I'm going to ask that you miss at least one. Okay, so go ahead and play, hit start, and we will keep an eye on this. You'll notice it updates in real time, which makes it super convenient so that you kind of see where students are. If they haven't even hit start yet, I will know that.
I can't get anything to drag and drop. Is that how you play? Drag and drop?
You should be dragging and dropping, so you should be grabbing a cat, and if you pull it onto a moon, it should work. If it is incorrect, it's going to kind of pop back out. If for any reason when it went to load and it's just kind of a blank orange background, if you refresh your page, that should help pop it back in. So for my secondary math people, this may be something similar that you could use in your classroom, taking screenshots of math problems and putting in that product or the answer. Keep on seeing if I can answer any of these correctly.
Do all of the activities today work on iPads?
Yes, sir. So this is a web-based program. So all of these will work on, I mean, you can do it from a phone technically. It's a little bit harder, but iPads, Chromebooks, computers, whatever that they have internet with, it will work just fine. So Jennifer, there is not a way to enlarge the font per se. With these items over here, these are screenshots. So if it's a screenshot over an image, you'll get this little blue square boxy thing at the bottom. If you click that, it will pop it open larger so that you can see it a little bit better. We're going to have some non-math examples, Lisa. Don't worry. And we'll talk about some other ways that you can use this. We have some different kinds of games. You could do things like alphabetical order. You could just do like matching rhyming words. We've done, you know, beginning letter sounds and a picture that matches. So there's all different ways to kind of edit this to make it appropriate for the level of your students. We do have a little bit of range here today, being K-12. So our examples are a little bit ranged, okay? All right, I'm gonna stop the pain and misery if you're struggling with your math here. We've got enough people that we can go ahead and look at this class data. I know, Roberta, it's hard to miss one, but I need the data to be a little bit more robust than 100 across the board. When I'm in the student dashboard, you'll see right now it's like updating real time, which is fabulous. My class results are right here, and right now you won't see anything because we want to make sure that teachers don't accidentally show student data in front of students. I've been guilty of doing that. I've been guilty of showing emails. So we try to take that extra step. Just toggle on that show results. Very quickly, we can see that class average. Okay. Average time and activity. But for me, this right-hand part is really kind of the bread and butter or like meat and potatoes of this, because it's showing me the most frequently incorrect answers and frequent correct answers so that I know where my students are struggling and I know where we're solid. So the 5 top incorrect answers, so I know maybe these are problems I want to work with my students. I can also toggle over to the correct answers, see that these were problems that people were getting. So maybe these are things that we don't need to go over. I can also drill down into individual student progress. Okay. Again, the default is that it's hidden so that we don't accidentally show that data in front of people. I'm going to pick on Nathan here. So I can see that Nathan finished 10 out of 10. Awesome. But the first time, thank you so much. I appreciate when I get really good data. First time we had 5 out of 10. So I know that even though we can drag and drag and drag until we get it right, that very first time there were 5 that were correct. And then I can even go to the right-hand side and see line by line, not only what he got correct, but when he missed it, what did he choose? Okay. And I can toggle through students to see exactly how people were doing. Okay. So a great formative assessment, a great data piece. We're going to skip and move to the next game. So if you're not done, I apologize, but we're going to keep moving on. Okay. This is an ELA example. It may be a little bit more comfortable for some of us, myself included, of an adjective and verb super sort. So essentially what you're doing in this game is sorting into one of 2 categories. Okay. Is the word an adjective or is the word a verb? Okay. So if you're correct, it gets absorbed. If you're incorrect, it's going to shake and pop out. Okay, again, this is completely editable. You can put any content in here. I have a lot of like primary teachers who will do like B and Ds, since students struggle with that, right? They have to put in the right super sort. As a science teacher, living versus non-living, vertebrates versus invertebrates, all sorts of ways to use this. Again, I have that student activity dashboard. If y'all want to play the game really quickly, we can look at that data again. This particular game is a really good one for elementary or for students who may do better with having images instead of words, because you can mix and match that. But with this sorting, having images and just sorting into one of 2 categories sometimes is a little bit easier for students to manipulate. We've done, let's see, if we were doing a math example, division problems that have remainder or no remainder. Is it something that you can factor or not factor? All different things. Historical figures, we've done allies and axis, which side of the war were they on? So in terms of this game, Jennifer, this is only 2 categories. So max of 2 categories here. We will look at some other games that you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of some things that you can do. All right, I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. If you don't finish, no worries. All right, let's take a peek at that data. That class average is looking a little bit better on the ELA than the math. Mine was doing the same too. Okay. You'll notice it updates as soon as somebody finishes. It's updating real time. That class average. What are people struggling with? What were they getting correct? And of course, we can always drill down into that individual student progress. Okay. All right. Last one is probably one of my favorites. Okay. This is what is called a monster quiz, and this is a team-based game, okay? So what that means is I do have to run this live, okay? So the other two games could be asynchronous. This one does have to be live. So when I hit start, what it's going to do is show me all your names, okay? And it's going to allow me to divide you into teams, okay? You can have 9 teams of 6 students apiece, okay? So up to 54 students. We are not there today, thankfully. So I'm going to divide you into teams. Let's do 7 teams, and it's going to auto sort you. What I like about this is I have the option of leaving you in this group, or maybe I don't want Alyssa and Brittany working together. I can drag and drop names and rearrange my groups as I want. Okay. What I cannot do is create my groups ahead of time. Okay. Students do have to be signed in. This does have to be done live. As soon as I hit start, you'll start to get questions on your device. It is a mix between multiple choice and true false. If you get it right, your monster starts to break out of the box. If you get it incorrect, you will have that question come back around until you get it right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's see who wins today. Ooh, Iceburgers, y'all are doing quite well. It does have a theme song. I don't have that on today, but it does play like a little theme song in the back, which is kind of cute. All right, Iceburgers are in the lead, but Case Creatures and Crate Critters, an alliteration for you, are not too far behind. I'm gonna give it about 10 more seconds, and then we're just gonna look at the data really quickly, just so you kind of have an idea of what it looks like. All right, Cool Chillers as our Frankenstein's monster today. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit end quiz, okay? So this type of game does not give you that individual data like the other two did, okay? This is gonna give you holistic class data. So let's go ahead and review. Good job, Crate Critters. You'll notice that this is not only based off of time, but also based off of accuracy. You'll notice if you had missed a question, it does come back around until you get it right. But let's go ahead and review our data. It is question by question. Okay, so this is where it's different. It's not by student, of seeing what the majority of the class was picking. So the majority of the class did get that arachnophobia is the fear of spiders, the bird-eating spiders. Apparently that was false. And then the average human has 5 liters of blood. Pumpkins are 90% water. Oh, a lot of y'all got this right. Pumpkin or jack-o'-lanterns used to be from tomatoes, no, potatoes. And then red blood cells can live up to 4 months. But it kind of shows me what the class was picking. So a lot of people said 4 days. Maybe this would be something we want to review. Okay, this is a great whole class review activity, but you won't be able to get that granular data before we kind of shift forward. You will notice that this was Halloween themed. We do have just like a normal theme that is always available. And then seasonally, our theme will change, that you do have another option. Okay, so let's kind of capture our thoughts. We have a big group, which is great because I think this is going to give us the ability to have a lot of ideas. What I want to know is, this is a whole class whiteboard. And what I want you to put in here are brainstorming ways or topics that you think you could use each game with Lumio. Okay, so that super sort, as a reminder, was the one where we were sorting into 2 categories. Match them up, we were pairing things together. And then Monster Quiz was that game that we just played a minute ago. So what you can do is, on the left-hand side, you have some tools. If you click on this A and click in your workspace, it will give you a text box. Okay, we do have 30 people in here, so it may get a little cluttered, it may get a little crazy, but go ahead and put your thoughts in there as to ways that you may be able to use these kind of games with your students. So again, to get a text box, click on that A and then click in your workspace and it will give you one. Word families, sorting fractions. Everybody in here has editing rights, so you may see things appear and move and shift. Lowercase and capital letters, great. Math facts, absolutely. There's actually a lot already in there on math facts. Spanish to English, part speech, character traits, fluency facts. This is probably one of my favorite ways to use it. is that whole class review before a test. So when you go to use a text box, it is a 2-click process. You have to click the A and then click in your workspace. So see if that will get you a text box. When you're in a whole class whiteboard, obviously the whole class can edit, can add, which means, as we saw, it can get a little chaotic, okay, with 32 people in here. As the teacher, up at the top, I have this blue bar, and over at the right-hand side, it says everyone can edit. At any point, okay, if it is getting a little chaotic, etc., I can click on that. It takes away your editing rights. We can regroup, or in this case, I'm just going to kind of move some of these around. Matching graph tables and equations. A review for the test. Yep. Rhythm, symbols, and names. So I think we have a music teacher in here, perhaps. Letter sound recognition, proportionality, main idea and key details, quick check for understanding, all sorts of things in here. Selecting which unit to use when measuring. Yes, yes, yes. All great answers. Maybe you get a couple answers or a couple ideas that you didn't have before. At any point, I can turn back on your editing rights. I'm not for today, just so that we can kind of move into the next step. One thing that I do want to point out, because I know that I saw at one point that a couple teachers were ESL. So one thing that I do want to point out that is a scaffold in Lumio is you should have a book on the left-hand side of your toolbar. Okay. I have more tools right now because I've taken away your editing rights. All right. But you should have a little book over here. And when you click on this, it highlights all of the text that has been typed within Lumio. And if I click on any of these text boxes, it's going to open up an immersive reader. This is a little busy, okay? But if I click this text box, if there was less text, it will open up an immersive reader and then it can be read for students, okay? I also have the ability to translate it into different languages, okay? It can still be read for students. I could have it break down by parts of speech if I wanted to. Okay, so all different ways that this can kind of help students who maybe need that extra assistance when they are looking at parts of speech or just having it read to them. Okay, so we're not going to deal too much with this today, but I did just want to point out that you do have this embedded within Lumio for any text that has been typed within the program. Okay, all right, so we've looked at a couple of games. I want to give you a chance to go in and peek around yourself and have some time to build. Okay, so up in the top left, you have 3 horizontal lines. I call it the hamburger, but it's 3 horizontal lines. If you click on that, you can leave the class. Okay, so go ahead and leave the class. I recommend you close the browser tab. That just kind of helps kick you out of student mode as we're about to enter into teacher mode. The easiest way to get into Lumio is going to be someplace Google, okay? So whether it's Google Mail, Google Drive, any place that you have what is called the waffle or the app matrix, okay? As long as you're signed into your school account, okay? So when you click on that app matrix or that waffle, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you are gonna see our little Lumio icon that is the Firefly, and you will click on that and do a teacher sign in. Okay. Do me a favor, Sandra, make sure that you are signed in with your teacher account. You should see that up in the top of Google. If you do not, you can always try going to golumio.com. When we are in Lumio, okay, I do want to give you an opportunity to kind of see what's already there for you before we start to build a game. Up in the top, my library or files that I've created or that I own, okay? And we're going to shift over just a little bit to Lumio Library. Okay, so up in the very top center, shift over to Lumio Library. These are things that are already made for you. I like when things are already made for me, personally. So up at the top, you'll notice a lot of the featured content, which is Halloween or fall right now. If I kind of scooch over all the way to the right, I can hit see more. And I can see everything that's in the featured collection. Right now, like I said, that's Halloween and fall, Indigenous Peoples Day, Veterans Day, some November stuff, anything that's kind of seasonal and relevant. Okay. There's a bunch of stuff in here. This is one of my favorites of just like kind of brain break type activity, these would you rathers. If I click on any of these files, it'll give me a little preview. And if I like it, I can save it to my library and then it's mine. Okay, so a lot of things in here. In terms of other collections that we may have, if you are elementary, some of these manipulatives may be great for you. We've got STEAM, because I remember I saw some STEM and STEAM up in there earlier. We have fractions, reading and writing, multiplication. If you are looking for like rhyming words, letter recognition, because I remember I saw a little bit of that, this collection may be good for you. Epic and ReadWorks, my history people. We recently, 3 months ago maybe, partnered with Footsteps of History. So it's a very small collection at this point, but it is growing. Okay, so expect to continue to see some more history stuff coming out from them. With my music, I know we saw some rhythm. Oh my God, rhythm. We have art and music, but we also just recently partnered with Flat for Education, where you can actually build a song within the program, which is really cool. And then tons of graphic organizers. There's some great ones for secondary levels in here. And then some instructional toolkits. So I want to give you just a minute to kind of peek through, okay? See if there's anything that you like. You can always save that to your library. So I see that Cassandra searched for a particular subject area. I do want to touch on that just for a minute. This is my personal preference in terms of what I have found. I have found really good results with keyword searches. I have found good results with subject searches. However, if you are not searching for like pre-K, K1, I don't love searching by grade level, just because what is fourth grade in Kentucky and what is fourth grade in South Carolina may be different. And so you may miss some things based on grade level because it is a national, well, actually it's an international database. So I would just be cautious if you're searching by grade level. Adina, if you are in Lumio, okay, if you're kind of on the home page, if you come up to the top and go to Lumio library, this is kind of where we're searching in here. Manipulatives, there are a ton of great ones in here, especially for my primary. If you are looking for, or even history timelines, if you need a 10 frame with counters, take about 30 more seconds. And then I want you to come back to the top middle. Okay, go back to my library. If you are not already back in my library, go ahead and make sure that you are coming up to the top center, clicking on my library so we can start to build a game. When you are here, over to the left-hand side, there is a blue plus button that says new. Okay, this is where we're going to start. When I hit new, basically my tool tab or tool page comes open. I do want to touch on this for just a second because we do kind of have a wide range here today. If you want to import something, I know you'll use Google. If you have a Google slide you want to bring in, a PowerPoint, a PDF, you can bring that into Lumio. Okay. YouTube, ad-free YouTubes, fabulous, fabulous. You're not going to get that 5 seconds at the beginning. You're not going to get that weird sidebar. So this is much more kid-friendly. I know we have some secondary math. We do have the graphing calculator from Desmos in here. For my science and math people, we also have PhET, which are those interactive simulations for both math and science. For my primary teachers, they just released a couple of number play, number sense, number compare PhETs in here. You may want to check them out. Okay, other than that, we have some graphic organizers and manipulatives down at the bottom. But where we are going to go today is right here. So kind of middle right, looks like a little alien or a little video game character. We're going to go into game-based activities. Okay. We have 12 game-based templates. They all have a different purpose. Some are more game-ish, some are more review-ish. Okay. Anytime that you don't know what something does, if you click on this little graduation cap up in the top right, it's going to give you just a quick little synopsis of what this looks like, what it may be good for. So this is multiple choice and true false questions. Couple things to just kind of touch on. If you are practicing Spanish to English, things like that, just kind of some almost flashcard types, like flashcard type things, this flip out may be really good for you. If you are looking at trying to have your students learn about what parts of a graph are as you get up into secondary math or secondary history, when you're talking about where things happened, this label reveal may be really good. Essentially what you do is you bring an image in and then you can make little triangles or whatever with a label and information on that topic. So I know a lot of history teachers use this for locations of famous battles and what the battle was. So this is a good one. Rank order is another one that has that data piece, but basically teachers can determine what the boundaries are. So like closest to the sun and farthest from the sun, and then they'd have to put the planets in order. Alphabetic order, numerical order, all sorts of things in there. So I'm going to ask that you start to build a game. Take about 5 minutes and work on building a game. I personally am going to build a match 'em up. You are more than welcome to follow along with me, but if there's a topic that you want to start working on, feel free to build on your own. Okay. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat in case you have any questions. But I'm going to do a match 'em up. We did play one of these with the math problems. What I do want to kind of talk about with this particular game is it's good for math problems. It's good for vocabulary and definitions. But I believe it was Jennifer earlier that mentioned that it was like really small. If you have something that you want to make sure that is blown up or enlarged for students, I would take a screenshot of it so that you can insert it as an image. So like definitions that are long, I would take a screenshot. Complicated math problems, when I say complicated, I'm talking just having exponents or parentheses, anything that like makes it longer than just a multiplication or an addition problem, I would screenshot it. Okay. The other thing is you cannot have two of the same answers. Okay. So for example, like this wouldn't work because the computer's not going to be able to tell which 7 is correct. And so just kind of keep that in mind when you build a game, that your answers do have to be different and then match them up. Okay. All right. I am going to build a match them up periodic table elements, like their symbol and the actual name. Okay. So I can either add text or image. So if I want to add an image, I can come to this little mountain. This is essentially like the add content button. If I click on that mountain, it will give me a Bing Safe Search, or I can select an image off my computer. Okay. So I'm going to search for gold. If I see an image I like, just double click on it and hit OK. And then I can put in the symbol on the other side. Okay. So work on building your game. We'll have about 3 or 4 minutes. You have to have at least 2 matches, but no more than 10. Actually, let's see if I can find it. If you were doing something maybe on beginning letter sounds, right? I could type in my letter, and then on the other side, maybe they're matching it with an image. If you are looking for cartoony images, make sure you include that clip art. So Kirk, kind of the same thing with that match 'em up is if you have a lot of text, if you take a screenshot, it'll let it get blown larger because it won't show all of it. And the cool thing I will, because you're in a rank order, I will mention about rank order is there's 2 different ways to use it. There's one that is a definitive yes or no, right or wrong answer. So it sounds like that's kind of what you're building right now. But you can also do it where it's an opinion based, where there is no right answer and they can just put them in order of what they think is most important or least important, or anything like that. So there's a couple different ways to use the rank order that I really like. All right, take about 1 more minute to wrap up your game. Whatever kind of you're building, whether it's a rank order, a match 'em up, a monster quiz, you can always go back in and edit these. When you get your game ready, depending on which one you chose, okay, like label reveal wouldn't have this, speed up wouldn't have this. The majority of your games, however, are going to allow you to select a theme. And then you should be able to select from here. Cassandra, if you're on the screen before and it's trying to get you to select a theme, make sure that you have at least 2 matches or the minimum within that game. In terms of themes, do you have 4 on both sides? Because it should let you move on. We may have to chat offline after this. In terms of themes, there are ones that have a little more extra to them. For example, the dragon, the rock concert, and the superhero. If you get it right, like in the rock concert, if they get it right, the guitar players will play. If they get it wrong, they get electrocuted, which is really cute and really fun. However, there's a time and place for that. There's also a time and a place for like the firefly, where there's not that extra. It just depends on what you're doing. Okay, you can always customize your background as well if you want to pull in your own images or your own backgrounds. It just depends on how much time you want to spend. Once you have selected your theme, you hit finish. This will add your activity to a file, and you'll notice it is adding to your Google Drive. You will have a folder in your Google Drive now called Lumio. So if you want to like organize your stuff, you can do it in there. So now I have this great match 'em up game. If I hit preview, I can see what it would look like for my students. Okay, again, any image that I brought has that little blue box. If I'm right, it will pop in. If I'm wrong, it's going to go back into my choices. I know we had some primary, I know we had some sped, so I do also want to point out that you have a little audio guide up here. You have up to 5 minutes of audio per page to be able to, you know, explain directions or expectations or anything that you want to do. So I think this is a really good scaffold. Per page, you can always add this. You don't have to, but it is there. Up in the top left, let's give this a title. Okay, it's just like Google Docs. It's going to be in the top left. If you click on Untitled, you can rename it. You will want to make sure that it says saved and not saving. Okay, and then go ahead and hit finish editing. And then there will be just a couple things that we want to talk about before we wrap up for today. When you have built your file, okay, there's 2 ways to share this with your students. Okay, the first way is the way that we did it earlier, which is by going to Hello Smart. Okay, so when this is a live lesson, okay, if you want them to join your live lesson, students would go to Hello Smart. Okay, the way that you will show them your class ID is if you want people in your class, that's how I think of it. You click on the little people icon up in the top left. Here's your information. Okay, if I click on it, it will kind of blow up big for students. Hellosmart.com. There's my class ID. Some of you use that quick link, so you can always copy and paste this into your learning management system. But this is all for a live lesson. The other option is if you want students to do asynchronous. So this would not be for Monster Quiz, because Monster Quiz is a live lesson. If you want to do a asynchronous lesson, that hamburger up in the top left, those 3 horizontal lines, give you the option to share. And then you can either share with a teacher, which means that they get their own copy. Okay, it's a different kind of link. Or you can share this with students and they can work at their own pace. Okay, so this is your asynchronous link for students. Today, let's kind of do a quick recap because I know we're coming to a close. You had the opportunity to experience the interactivity of the games as well as do that whole class whiteboard. So there was some collaboration. We had a chance to go in and start to build activities. And then you learned how to share with your colleagues. Hopefully from our whole class whiteboard, maybe you gleaned a couple of ideas on ways that you could use these games as well. But again, you can always share with your colleagues by going to that hamburger, share, and then you have both a teacher link and a student link. In terms of us wrapping up today, I'm going to share this out with Kathleen to share with y'all. So you will have the access to our Learn Lumio, our webinars, all that good stuff.